Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week will be a short review, but it should be a fun review, because I'm going to review the anime known as The Helpful Fox Senko-san. Now, this is a show that I've watched back a couple of different times since it debuted, and I wish it had a second season, because it's just lovely. It's just dumb. I love it. And sometimes you need a stupid, dumb show that doesn't try to do anything other than being a stupid, dumb show. Because that's how this genre works. You know, I don't know how big of a genre this is, but it's known as Iyashikei, healing. So apparently back in the 90s, there was a series of incidents and earthquakes and other things, and of course with Japan's overworking population and other things of that nature, animators decided we need stuff that's lighter. We need stuff that makes people feel better. We need something that's low-key, and even by slice of life standards, we need some stuff that you could just shut your brain off and just have a good time. And that's going to inform the main crux of today's episode, because there is kind of a minor controversy with this show, but I can disprove it by thinking, lighten up. So essentially, this is a show about nothing. And that's the point. How this works is a guy named Kuroto Nakano. He's voiced by Aaron Campbell, which I think this was like his first show, and then he went on to do other things later. He's just overworked. He's the salaryman guy. We know that he works in an office job, and that's essentially all we know, is that he usually takes, other people's work on himself if he needs to, or gets shoehorned into it and just misses trains all the time and doesn't eat properly and all that junk. So he just lives in misery. Not in the depraved kind of way that a darker show would be, and that, again, that's going to be the point to something later. Just that he's in kind of a mindless drone kind of state. He doesn't know what he's going to do, except that that's what he is. So, some Fox characters, unbeknownst to us, of a certain, whether they're full-on kitsune or demigods, whether they fully explore the lore or not. As far as this show is concerned, fox gods of some description have taken it upon themselves, whether that's how they were born, how they were devised, what have you, because normally with kitsune they're like mischievous gods and whatnot. They have taken it upon themselves to take care of negative emotions. So if people have those, well, they go down and they take care of people to the point that they don't have that anymore. So, one of them is known as Senko, voiced by Kristen McGuire. And McGuire has been in some other things. Funny enough, she was also in Inari Spirit, or Kitsune, in a different show that I'm going to talk about, Kimono Jihen, which is a lot darker. So I just found it kind of funny that she was that. She was also in stuff like Real Life and other things. But Senko is kind of a mother figure. She doesn't let anything bother her. She usually just takes things as they are. And she's taken it upon herself to insert herself into Kuroto's life and try to make his life feel better. And if that's done by home-cooked meals, if that's by staying home and playing stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home wife, that's what she's going to do. So she spends a good year or so trying to do that. And slowly but surely, the show kind of unveils that is what's happening. Now, you can't get away from Kuroto living his life and living his job and all, but that's just the way it's gonna work. So, a lot of the show is just Senko showing ways for Kuroto to lighten up, whether it means taking a day off when he's sick or overworked, whether that's finding a different way to pamper himself, or finding a different way to get food, or a different way to clean, or just other dumb junk. I've said this before in other shows, that there are kind of your standard or typical episodes, and this one won't escape it either. You have your episode where you go out in the snow and you build snowmen, or you have snowball fights. You have your beach episode where you see people in swimsuits, because of course you got to have one of those. You've seen a show like this, you kind of know what you're expecting, right? But the difference being in that Yashike's setup is that's intentional. It's intentionally just showing you just slow build, slow burn. You're not expecting these characters to change a lot, especially because it's a comedy. You're not expecting them to go through groundbreaking end of the world concepts. And even the ending of the show is just kind of there just to have an ending. But there's another one of those spirits known as Shiro, who's voiced by Kristen Sutton, who's a little more mousy and a little more mischievous and a little more. That's what I would expect a fox demon god sort of thing to be like. A little more annoying and interjects herself and things. And she's saying that Senko's not doing enough, and then she ends up palling around with Kuroto's neighbor, Yasuko Koenji, voiced by Hayden Daviau, who is in Goblin Slayer, Goblins, as priestess. So I knew I'd recognize that name somewhere. I just hadn't remembered where. Because sometimes in like a wiki article, they'll give you the listing of their character roles, and otherwise other times they don't. So yeah, Koenji is a manga artist and college student, and she lives in shit too. And again, like very standard single apartments. I'm not saying squalor. What I mean by shit is you've seen one small ass Japanese apartment in these shows, you've seen them all. That's essentially where they're living. Small apartments. These are what they are. And Shiro pals around with Koenji for a few episodes and whatnot in the middle. She's mainly there. Shiro is to act as counterpoint to Senko being all prim and proper and almost too good for us, because sometimes there are characters like that. Senko is too good for this world and is too amazing, so Shiro is there to be the kind of scamp. And again, whether they're together or they're separate or they're doing things in episodes, there you go. And they're led by Yozora, voiced by Dawn Bennett, who does some roles here and there for Funimation and Crunchyroll. And she was also in a show, Konohata Kitan. Again, more stuff with spirits and yokai and fun junk as Satsuki. So the nice thing about this show is it's only about those 5 characters, and realistically about the main 2 or 3. So there's not a lot going on. And again, that's kind of the point. So yeah, you have your weird shenanigans of episodes of, hey, do this thing, go do the beach episode, go do the whatever, and then there's that ending that happens. And if it sounds like there's not a lot going on, it's because there's not a lot that I can give away, because there's not much to spoil. I'd say that the best parts of the show really are Senko learning about recent technology and having a fun lack thereof with a vacuum. There's a scene, like, if you need any reference point of the show, and if you're going to like it, I would look up Senko versus the vacuum, because she spends a good minute or so trying to use technology to her own advantage. Sometimes you use Foxfire to use a stove rather than a stove heater and whatnot, but she can fly, she can cast fire, she can do all sorts of things that normal people can't do, and she was trained to clean the normal way. So this newfangled technology of a vacuum cleaner, what is this thing? And her reactions to it, again, she sounds wholesome because she is. So all the weird reactions to it are amazing. All the weird reactions to how Kuroto acts is interesting, because she's above it all, but she's caring enough that it makes sense. So anytime Kuroto comes home feeling like shit or wakes up feeling like shit, it's her responsibility. And therein lies the trap. And this is the thing that I don't want to, like, downplay, but I also kind of do. And I'll show you why. So there are multiple reasons why, again, this is more of an online discourse than anything else. I don't know how widespread it is, but But as a talking point, let's just say Senko shows up out of nowhere, unannounced, to pamper you. On the surface of it, that sounds really, really, really bad. Especially coming from a culture that, admittedly, Japan's gender politics is kind of like male dominant versus female subservience. It has changed a lot, and anime is only a reflection of that. I've never been to Japan. I can't speak to that other than hearing about it here and there, about, rankings in their culture and whatnot. But look, I get it. Coming from an American mindset, somebody just taking over the role as a stay-at-home mom by choice sounds like gender subservience. Okay, sure. But that's sort of the point of this show, is to not worry about that. Because you're basically telling people you shouldn't be doing that. I get it. That's their reasoning. You shouldn't be expressing that as an opinion. But this is a dumb comedy with doing the same silly things over and over again. Just because it's female spirits doing it, that doesn't mean that that's just that. It's all the characters were shown. It's kind of like Chobits, where it's like, yeah, the majority of the show is female-oriented, but there's still male characters doing it. I'm guarantee you if the show actually had male Fox characters doing it, they would probably have the same roles that Senko and Shiro would be doing. This show is trying to bypass that by saying we're only focusing on like 3 or 4 characters. This is dumb situations and dumb comedy, and we're not really making a big deal out of everything. Because that's the point. Everything doesn't have to mean everything. Not everything has to be a gender issue, political issue, societal issue. It could just be, hey, lighten the fuck up. Have some fun with your life. Just let things go. I mean, that's most of what this show is trying to just... Whatever, biases you have, whatever mindless inclinations you have, sure, would it have helped if, Yozora was a male, sort of. It would have so gender equality or whatever. That's not the kind of show they were going for. It's fine. I don't read that much into the gender subservience, because that's like saying a male can't be a stay-at-home dad, despite the fact that my family was grown up that way. My mom worked, and my dad was a stay-at-home dad by choice in most cases. And it never bothered him at all. He just did his business, and it was the way it was. Just like, men have to work. And, no, you can be what you want to be. And you can choose to believe what you want to believe. But at the same time, you don't have to read that every single thing about every single show and every single thing has to have a message that goes against what this thing is trying to say. The other message here that I hear a lot is oh my god, she's a 16-year-old girl or whatever in an 800-year... That's another anime trope. I wish it wasn't there, but again, it's a stupid anime trope that exists. So if their choice was to get around it by saying she's an 800-year-old fox demigod, whatever, again, it's a lighthearted show. If you're going to read into, oh my god, she's totally 800 years old, to get around the fact that, oh my god, she's short and she's a girl and it's pedophile. No, it's not trying to do that. It's not skirting the line. If it was trying to be very icky and do that sort of thing, it would. The worst thing you could say about the show is that Kurota's fascination with everybody's tails is a bit on the nose and a bit much. It reminds me of Golden Boy, where the main character has a fascination with toilets and girls who sit on toilets. But outside of the tails being, shown way too fucking much, at least it goes into the, hey, this guy needs to lighten up and he found something to lighten up about. But, that aside, I don't read anything into the age thing. Because that's more a systemic thing of anime. Sure, you could say, well, anime should have characters that are above 18, and if you're going to do that shit, I'm like, no. You're not always going to have characters that look over 18 or set over 18. You just have to say, if there's a line you don't want to cross, sure, That's totally acceptable. But for me, I tend to think if the show is good enough and it's lighthearted enough and you can look at it and say, is it trying to tell me something? Is it trying to go into that? This was never a show that was trying to do that. It was a show specifically designed not to do that. And I'll give you a different opinion because there was I didn't finish it because I dropped it as soon as I saw this scene. I want to say it was the world's finest assassin reincarnated as an aristocrat or something like that. Essentially, the show was an older dude, like a gruff Liam Neeson type guy, right? Reincarnated as a 7, 8, 10-year-old, whatever. Grew up into a 16-year-old, whatever. And again, boring. I would have liked it if that guy was a super old dude, just stayed as a super old dude. Anyway, a couple episodes go by, nothing happens. He starts, talking to girls because of course he does, because it's a harem show, because everything has to be a harem show somehow. That I'd have more problem with than anything Senko-san does. But unbeknownst to me, I think 3 or 4 of the characters out of nowhere, I think there's a scene where they're sleeping together, and I don't think there's any context as to why, because they're just the main girls that he's gotten, and I don't know if there's any implication, but at the same time, there's no explanation either. So they could be maids, they could be assassins, they could be whatever, but what are they doing in his bed? Why are we there? Who are these girls? So you're telling me this guy who was in his 50s or 60s or late 40s or whatever, reincarnated, still has his intelligence, is all of a sudden sleeping with these people that are probably 10 to 20? And it's meant to be a more serious show. I have way bigger problem with that because that show's trying to be serious and then has this scene where they're all in bed for some reason. I'm okay with them training people to be assassins, okay, because that's kind of the dark humor, but all of a sudden he's in bed with them? Where did this happen? Did they have relationships? Were they building any? I don't know. It made no sense. This show, Senko-san, at least had the decency to be a dumb show about nothing. And that I'm okay with. Because sometimes you need a dumb show about nothing to not have to think. And there is that. There is the popcorn show, the idea that you're not supposed to think about these things. If we were trying to send a message, we would have built a 20-episode show about the dynamics of the relationship of everything. And no, it's Senko accepts everything that's going on. Do we know why? No, it's the way that she was those 3 female characters were designed. I don't think anything of it because that's not really the point. But again, I would think less of this show if it was a super serious, introspective, oh my god, we're looking into this and we're fighting all of it, and then we're trying to be really goofy. And they were trying to kind of do half and half. Versus a show that is trying to be completely different, trying a different thing, and then still has people in bed with this dude who's totally 50 years old but reincarnated to be 17. Whatever the fuck. It's dumb. There are shows that have way bigger problems than Senko-san does. It's helped by the fact that Senko-san knows what it's trying to be and isn't trying to upset people because it's trying to make people feel good. There's no malice behind it. There's no weird gender politics around it. There's no weird age gap thing around it. At most, you could say, haha, it's funny, but I'm not going to watch it. And that's your prerogative if you really think about it. But again, there are worse things you could deny shows for. And you'd be out of service of a really fun 12 or 13 episode show because of, realism or whatever reason. Besides, I think for me, the things that I really liked about Senko-san and the things that I really come back to every once in a while are the fact that the OP and ED, the opening and ending themes are so infectious. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be happy sounding things. And I'm going to have to make sure I get this right. Koyoi MOFUMOFU and MOFUMOFU de Yoi no ja yo. those two songs were performed by the Japanese actress for Senko, and the first one even has Shira's voice actress too. So listen to those as you listen to this song and think if this show is trying to be super fucking serious. Because I guarantee you, these songs are infectious and lovely and just fun. And Mofu is meant to, I think MOFUMOFU is a play on words of fluffy. It goes on to the whole tail thing. Look, again, stupid comedy should be held to the same standards as super serious, amazing stuff. You know, if you're going to deny an entire show just because of some weird thing that the show is not trying to get into, sure, I understand that. There are many other anime that I'm sure don't offend your sensibilities one way or another. I did have to express that to get past it because there's no way around it. Because that's some of what Senko-san is known for. The other half of the show is, hey, this girl that doesn't know anything is helping us have a fun day and is just telling us to lighten up in our lives. And that's a message we could all share. Because, no, do I work as hard as anyone else in my life? No. Do I have the worst life in my life? No. But even I have times where there are things that I'm like, this sucks. I'm not having fun. Where do I get to have fun? This show and many others, the healing anime arcs, are ones that you have fun with. Just listen to music, have fun, watch a dumb anime, smile more. That's a message that doesn't get across all that much because we have to make money, we have to live our lives, we have to do so many things. And then going back and listening to these songs again, or watching the show, or even watching the clip of Senko in the vacuum just makes me happy. Because knowing what the show is about just makes me happy. Whenever anybody on Reddit or whatever asks for like an anime recommendation of what's the easiest show to watch where I just want to lighten up and just have fun, I point to this. Because its sole purpose, whether it's the manga or this, is the message, have fun. Smile. Whatever's going on in your life, you will find a brighter side of life. There's something that you can find in the show, or in the characters, or in the music, or anything else in your life. You can have fun. You don't have to think that everything means something. You don't have to think that everything about the world is crumbling down around you. Because there's comfort in this thing. There's going to be somebody there to tell you, you know what? I'm going to be there to help you. This show is going to be there to help you. This song is going to be there to brighten your mood for the day. And sometimes that's all you need. So would I recommend The Helpful Fox Senko-san? Absolutely. If you want something to just brighten your day, watch an episode of this. Watch the song for 5 minutes. Just watch the song for a minute and a half if you watch the edit version. If it's not your thing, or if it bugs you that everything about it is wrong and stupid and whatever, that's fine. But not everything is meant to mean everything. And hopefully that's the message that I've gotten across. But that'll do it for today. And there's a whole host of tons of stuff. I've got episodes going into January with Final Fantasy V and Rogue Galaxy and so many other things. But we've got all the other shows coming in eventually. Say, like, I don't have the list in front of me. You know what? I don't care. This episode was about not giving a shit. So you know what? I'm not going to look it up. I've got episodes set until January. I don't have to worry about it. And I'm happy that, you know, episodes like this and Ascendance of a Bookworm are some of the better performing episodes because, you know what? I want to enjoy it. I want people to enjoy these episodes. And I want people to, you know, have fun or learn something new about a show they may never have tried before. Or if they did enjoy it, why did they enjoy it? So, hey, fuck it. I'm going to have fun with the rest of my day. I'm going to play some games, and I'm going to watch some hockey, and I'm going to enjoy my life. And that's the message that this show is providing, and that's the message that I want to provide. Is that if for some reason you're not having fun with your day, hopefully this gave you a good 15 or 20 minutes to shut your brain off and just smile. And if that's what I did for you, then I'm happy. But that'll be it for me. Citizen Strife, signing off.